Ho there, fair traveller, how fare thee on this beautiful afternoon, evening, morning, I don't know when you're watching this, okay? How fare thee? Today is September 30th, which means that it is almost October. Not quite, but almost. So I am making my reading wrap up for, obviously, the month of September. If I finish any books tonight, I don't really give a fuck. I don't think I will, but if I do, I'll just roll them over into October. September, as always, was kind of a weird reading month for me. It was a very gloomy month, and I felt very anxious for the bulk of the month, so I really just wanted to read like trashy fun romances. So that's what I did. That's the bulk of what I read. That's, I think, the bulk of what I read any month, but this month I was specifically seeking it out. Okay, you know what I mean? In this month I read a total of 13 books, 12 digital and then 1 physical. So didn't make much headway on my physical TBR. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. It's okay. That's just how the cookie crumbles. A lot of the books that I like physically own are not trashy fun romances. So, you know, if that's what I'm searching for, I'm obviously not going to reach for my physical books if that's not what I fucking have physically. Let's just start with the first and only physical book that I read this month, Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Poranek. This is a YA Slavic inspired fantasy about this girl named Liska who's living in this small town where magic is kind of frowned upon, and she has magic. She hides it, but she still feels like an outcast. She feels like she's shunned. So she goes one night into the spooky ass forest in search of this flower that will presumably grant her a wish and give her the chance to get rid of her magic. While she's in the forest, she meets the protector of the forest, the Lezi, and he strikes a deal with her. He says, listen, I will grant you this wish. I will give you this flower if you come serve me in my manor for a year. She agrees, obviously, and the story plays out from there. So if you couldn't tell based on that like little description that I just gave, this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if it was intentionally that or like, I don't know, whatever, but it definitely feels like, it reads like, it follows the same fucking story as Beauty and the Beast, especially in the beginning. So I'm calling it a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. It was never marketed that way, but I think it is a retelling. Like, I don't know. Beauty and the Beast retellings abound, right? They're fucking everywhere. And I feel like if you're gonna do a Beauty and the Beast retelling, you have to do it either really, really well, or you have to do something new with it, something new and fun, you know, something interesting that really sticks out. This book didn't really do either of those things. It didn't really have much nuance. I feel like the atmosphere was just lacking. I was really looking for like a redo of, you know, A Study in Drowning, like with that atmosphere, which I really, really loved the atmosphere of that novel. This one, nope, it felt very flat to me in terms of atmosphere when I thought it was going to be very strong. This book also felt very dialogue heavy, and I don't know if it was just like me taking notice of the dialogue more, and maybe this is like the normal amount of dialogue that all books have and I just never really paid attention, but like this book felt like a shit ton of dialogue. Like it felt like it was mostly dialogue. I feel like I just really expected a lot from this book and it did not deliver really on any front. I thought the story was okay. I thought the characters were okay, but none of them really stuck out to me. And then, you know, there were all these like big twists near the end, but they didn't really feel fully fleshed out. Like I said, this book lacks a lot of nuance. So I just felt like it was very like shallow almost. Even these like big twists that were supposed to be like shocking and like deep and fun, they didn't really feel like that to me. They really fell flat. This book was not for me. I think a lot of people really love it, right? The average star rating on Goodreads is over 4, so a lot of people obviously really like it. Just not me, right? I gave this 2 stars, maybe 2.5. Again, not for me, okay? But it might be for you. So if you feel like you're interested, if you really like Beauty and the Beast retellings, you should check this one out. Otherwise, I don't know. So with that out of the way, we can get into the digital books that I read. Again, I read 12 of them, but we're gonna go pretty fast because a lot of them were like rereads. I started rereading the Monstrous series last month. I didn't intend to reread the whole series. I just wanted to like reread my favorites, but I ended up rereading the entire series this month. Monstrous is a like series of books that takes place in this like dystopian world where monsters have come through this rift in the space-time continuum and are kind of like antagonizing humanity. And the stories are all about people on Earth, you know, trying to survive, you know, with these fucking monsters, and also having lots of sex with them. These are all MLM, and they're all very good. I would really highly recommend this series. So last month I read Moth, and then this month I read all the rest. So starting with Gloam, that was the first one that I read. So I went kind of out of order, obviously. Gloam is the fourth book, and Gloam is also my favorite book. I love them. Gloam is, again, the fourth one. It is about Rycke and Gloam. I love Rycke. I love Gloam. Rycke is like this fun... like, he's a silly little guy. And then Gloam is a little bit more somber, a little bit more serious. And I really like their dynamic. I think they're so fun. This book was a little bit more plot heavy, which I also really liked. It's probably the best book in the series. I fucking love it. It's so good. If you read nothing else in this series, you should read Gloam. Moving forward, I read Seraph, which, again, I read out of order, so this is the sixth book. I really liked Seraph. I think I liked it more on this read. I just thought it was really interesting and fun. Seraph is the story of Lilac and Seraph. Seraph is this, like, really fucked up, like, crazy-ass monster. He's got a lot of shit going on. And then Lilac is, like, this brooding, kind of emo type. Their story is a little bit sadder, but it is very fun still. I thought they were really fun. I thought their dynamic was cute. I really liked it. So I gave Seraph 4 stars, and obviously Gloam was a 5-star book for me. And then, moving on, I read Edin. Edin is probably the book that I remembered the least from my last read. And on this reread, I did not enjoy it that much. I had originally given it 4 stars, and I actually lowered my star rating to 3 stars on this read. I think it is one of the weakest books in the series. It has the weakest writing. I still really, really like the book, right? It's the story of Edin and Hunter. Edin is another one of these broody types, but he's more grumpy rather than emo. And Edin is like this fun, like, he's kind of jockey, but he's obviously like a monster, and he has never been in a fraternity or is a jock. He doesn't even know what fucking football is. So... but he is a jock, you know, he has jock vibes, okay? I like their dynamic, but I don't love either of them, like, that much. I don't know, it just felt like it could have been a lot better than it was. Still good, right? But I did give it 3 stars. I hate having bangs when I don't style them, because it's like, they just do whatever the fuck, right? And they never look good unless I style them, but then it's so fucking muggy out that if I style them, they immediately, like, curl into these, like, corkscrews. I'm like, holy shit, and it looks like shit, so I can't do anything right now. Like, this is literally my worst nightmare. Anyway, the next book that I read in the monster series was Soul Eater, which is the first book in the series. This is when I really was like, I'm just gonna read the rest of the fucking series. I'm gonna reread all of it. Soul Eater, I feel like my feelings stayed very equal about from my first read to this read. It's definitely not the best book in the series, but it is fun. It is really enjoyable. Like, this is a really good book to hook people into the series. Soul Eater is the story of Win and Danny. I really love Danny. I'm okay about Win. Win, I think my problem with him is that he kind of gets flanderized throughout the rest of the series. Like, he feels very nuanced in the first book, but then, like, throughout the rest of the series, all of his other appearances, he's just like, I'm murdery and stabby. Like, what's the, like, the D&D term? He's a murder hobo, right? Like, that is the vibe that he gives through the rest of the series, but he, like, feels like a real character in this book. I really enjoyed this one. Very fun. Very cool. I gave it 4 stars. Same as when I first read it. The next one that I read was The Rycke, which is the 3rd book in the series. On my first read, The Rycke was my least favorite of all the books. I did not like it very much. The Rycke is the story of Ori, the Rycke, and Ghost. They're cute. They're fun. They're not that special to me. Like, I think I enjoyed this one a little bit more than Edin, probably because, like, I had positive feelings about Edin from my first read, and then, like, reading it again, I was very disappointed. But this one was actually better on a second read. I still gave it 3 stars. I gave it 3 stars the first time, but I gave it 3 stars again. But it was a more benevolent 3 stars, not a hateful 3 stars like Edin's. The first half of the book, I think, is stronger than the second half. So I don't know. Take for that what you will. But yeah, The Rycke. The last book in the Monsters series is, of course, Lore, and that's also the last one that I read, so I went in order for this one. Lore is the longest book in the series, but it's also really, really good. It is about Lore and Jugs. This is one that actually is kind of like a prequel to the series because it takes place mostly in the 80s. Jugs is from the 80s, and he is very 80s. And then Lore is like this naive, like, prince who is so curious about the world but also feels very taken advantage of. Their story is really, really strong. I would say that Lore is my second favorite book in the series. Gloam is my favorite, but Lore is the best. Lore made me cry. Of all these books, very hard. It is a very sad book, but it also is very happy. It has a happily ever after, so don't let like the sadness dissuade you. It is a very good book. And I am very, very excited for Lily to come out. Lily Mayne, please. I think she's kind of like sick of writing in the Monstrous series, which is like, I would be too after 7 fucking books, but I still need it, and I need it yesterday. The next book that I read was actually an arc, and I'm like super excited about this, that this happened. I didn't like totally love this book, but I'm very excited that this was something that I was given access to. I read Metal from Heaven by August Clarke. Metal from Heaven is a like sapphic high fantasy book about this world where there is this metal ore called ichorite, and they have all these like people mining the ichorites. Children who are born from mothers who work with the ichorite have this condition called being luster touched, and it means they get really, really sick whenever they touch the ichorite, but it also means that they kind of have the ability to shape the ichorite to their like will. So the book starts off with them unionizing and protesting, give us rights as workers, and then, you know, they get fucking like killed and shit. And the rest of the book is about our main character Marnie joining this gang and eventually getting revenge on the owner of, you know, the ichorite industry. His name is like Chauncey or something. Now, I'm, again, very, very thankful that I was given access to this novel. I got it through NetGalley, which I was like, I didn't think I was actually going to get anything through, but I did. I'm very happy about it. So thank you to NetGalley. Thank you to the publishers for giving me this. But I did not love Metal from Heaven. I thought it was good. I think there were a lot of strong parts, but I also think there was a lot of like not so strong parts. It's a very verbose novel, right? It's written in this very interesting way, and I think the writing is really its strong suit, but at the same time also kind of holds it back for me, because there was so much like cool shit happening like moment to moment in the book, but the writing is like so dreary and so heavy that it just brings everything down, and this feeling is very consistent throughout the book. It never changes. A lot of the characters also felt very samey. Marnie is a very successful protagonist. It feels like you're reading from the perspective of somebody else, right? Sometimes you read a book and you're like, well, this doesn't feel like a unique person, but Marnie feels like a unique person. A lot of the other characters in the book, however, do not. Okay, they felt like they were all one person. I wasn't feeling much emotion, especially about the characters. I just think it kind of fell flat for me in certain places. I think this book comes out this month. I think it comes out October 27th. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would ever read it again, but I think I would recommend it to a lot of people. I think a lot of people really enjoy it. And I think there was, again, a lot of really, really cool shit happening in this book that I think is legitimately worth reading. I gave Metal from Heaven 3 stars. I didn't love it, but again, I thought there was a lot of cool stuff. Not to repeat myself, but again, that's the way that I would describe it. Didn't love it. A lot of cool stuff. So anyway, Metal from Heaven, 3 stars. Thank you again to NetGalley and Kensington Publishers. Thank you. I continued with Ruby Dixon's Ice Home series. I, read fucking Ice Barbarians a long ass time ago. I finished that about this time last year, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick up the series again. It'll be like returning home for me. Like it'll be so comforting, like eating a warm bowl of chicken soup. It was not. So I read 2 books in the Ice Home series this month. I read Hannah's Hero. I enjoyed maybe the first 100 pages, but then it gets kind of shitty. The main character, her name's Hannah. Obviously, she's kind of fucking annoying. I didn't give a shit about her. I didn't care to see her succeed. And there's also this dichotomy in the book where Hannah is really, really upset because back on Earth, she was like this high-powered businesswoman. She was about to publish a really big book, like that was going to get super marketed. She had like interviews lined up about it. Like it was a big deal. By the end of this book, Hannah is like, actually, you know what? Coming to this planet and losing my fucking huge ass book deal that would have made me super successful and rich is okay. I'm okay with that. Getting mated and like having a husband, that's better. Getting a family, this is the better option. I actually won here, which I don't agree with, and I really actually fucking hate that that idea is presented in this book. It would change very little about this book and also make me feel a lot better if it was instead presented as like, these are 2 equal things. Like, it's good to like you know, find somebody who loves you and start forming a family, but it's also really good to have a career that fulfills you and that you really love and that you're very happy about, right? I don't think it should ever be like they're pitted against each other, like one is better, especially not when it's like the traditional one. That just really pissed me off, really brought down my whole experience of this book. I gave it 2 stars. That was pretty generous of me, okay? I did continue on with the series. I said I'm not giving up. I'm gonna keep going. You know, there are bad books in the Ice Pen Barbarian series, and sometimes you just have to keep pushing through until you get to a good one. But the second one that I read was not a good one. It was okay. It was definitely better than Hannah's Hero, but it was also not great. The next book that I read was Devi's Distraction, which is the 6th book in the Ice Home series. It was just fine, right? Like, I think it was a step up from Hannah's Hero in terms of, like, it was better. Like, I liked their dynamic more. I liked Devi a lot more than I liked Hannah. There was no like super weird anti-feminist shit going on here. In fact, Devi is like, her whole thing is that she's very sciencey and like she wants to explore the beach and like learn all this shit about the world that they've landed on, which is like pretty good, right? That's pretty good. And she does not want to give that up for a man. She doesn't expect to, at least. Like, it's not really something that's ever considered. It's just like, oh, her man is gonna join her now, which is like, that's fucking awesome. Good for you, girl. That is like the real winner, right? You can be a high-powered career woman and have a wonderful doting person who loves you, and they help you with your fucking high-powered career, even if your high-powered career is poking at bugs on the beach. What it really made me think was that with Ice Pen Barbarians and Ice Home now, a lot of these books, or a lot of the characters in these books are just so samey. They'll have like one trait that really makes them stick out, but other than that, it'll be like they all talk the same, they all act the same, the decisions they make are going to be made in the same ways. All of the blue barbarians are basically the same person. All of them. It's actually like incredible. I don't even know how that's possible to make him seem so samey. You know what I mean? I gave Devi's Distraction 3 stars, which is again a step up from Hannah's Hero, but I'm probably not going to continue with the series. I'm probably done. I don't want to do it anymore. Good night. The next book that I read was called Little Red by Queenie Wise. I don't fucking know why I read this. This is a book about a guy who gets turned into a werewolf, and he's kind of like, oh, and he has to like grapple with that as he makes his way, as he like, you know, joins this fucking wolf pack. And he also falls in love with the alpha of the pack, and that's like the whole plot, really. There was some cool shit with the wolf pack, but like the plot itself, not that great. The main character is young. He's in high school. He's 17. And there's just like these long scenes where he's like sitting in class, talking to students, talking to his friends that I don't give a shit about, right? Like I fully did not care about some of these scenes, about some of these characters. The writing, super weak. This book used a lot of passive voice. Don't give a shit. I didn't give a shit. I still don't give a shit. I gave this book 2 stars, and that was generous. I originally gave it 1 star, and then I decided to raise it up because I was like, you know what? I don't think it was that bad. Little Red was a very malevolent 2 stars, if you know what I mean. The next book that I read was Cheap Heat by Lily Mayne. This is her newest book in the Goliaths of Wrestling series. Just came out September 27th. I hopped right on that shit. Finished it September 28th. Okay, I was on it. Okay? I really liked Cheap Heat. I like all of Lily Mayne's books, obviously. Goliaths of Wrestling is turning out to be a really fun series. It's definitely a departure from the Monstrous series, right? Goliaths of Wrestling is a lot more fun. It's a lot sillier. It's not anywhere near as serious. And I feel like Cheap Heat really took that silliness and kind of ran with it. There were scenes in this book that I would almost call like slapstick scenes. And I will confess, I'm somebody who I'm very, very uncomfortable about slapstick. I can't watch movies with slapstick comedy. Some scenes in this book where I like had to put it down and be like, I can't read this anymore. Like, I'm done. This, like, oh my god. But I feel like Lily Mayne did successfully resolve all of these scenes very well, so I wasn't like that worried about it. And I really, really liked the main characters. The main characters in this one are Rafe and Dan, or Danny, Even, I don't fucking know. He's got a lot of fucking names, okay, but Rafe is Rafe. Rafe is a ghoul, and then Danny is a Dullahan, and a Dullahan is like the headless horseman, so they can take their head off. So there's a lot of interesting shit going on with that. I thought that was a really like fun, cool monster to play with. I fucking love Dullahans. They're like, no, like nobody thinks about them, but like they're cool. The whole crux of this book is that Rafe has just started this job at Goliaths of Wrestling. He's the new IT manager, and his neighbor Danny, he fucking hates his neighbor. And he learns that, oh shit, Danny is one of the wrestlers here at fucking Goliath of Wrestling. That's fuck. And then he goes home one day and he sees, you know, Danny sucking his own wiener with his detached head. And he falls in love. You know what I mean? And they start with like a friends with benefits thing. It's a very fun book. Again, like obviously it's very silly. That's a very silly setup. I would recommend the whole fucking series. It's been very consistent. I've consistently given every book 4 stars. I don't love any of them, but I do really like all of them. So I would highly recommend the series. I would highly recommend all the books. The last book that I read in September was Not All Himbos Wear Capes by Rochelle. This is a book that I actually started, I think, last month, so August, and I did not finish it. I literally got 87% of the way through, and then I stopped it. I literally deleted it from my Kindle. I was like, I didn't hate it. There was nothing wrong with it. I just didn't feel like I wanted to keep reading it. But then I was like, you know what? I'll fucking finish it. This is a book about superheroes. It's about a villain named Xander, Dr. Anti-Hero, who his like nemesis is the hero Captain Masculine, who's kind of like the Superman of this city, and they're always duking it out. But Xander one day meets this guy named Butch on a dating app, and they fall in love, but Butch is actually Captain Masculine, so they're like enemies and lovers, like unironically at the same time. This is a very like unserious book, and like you can tell that it's supposed to be unserious, right? Like the fucking superhero's name is Captain Masculine. It literally cannot get more unserious than that. I liked it. I didn't love it. I think the second half kind of gets bogged down with like plot, which like in an unserious book, I don't really give a shit about the plot. Like I really enjoyed Butch and Xander's dynamic. I thought they were very fun. I thought they were very cute together. Again, a little plot heavy, little long. It's like 400 fucking pages long, which is like, okay, for an unserious book, what are we doing? What are we doing? What's happening here? You're literally called Captain Masculine. Like, what do you think this is? Do you think this is a serious book? You have a daddy baby kink. That's not a serious thing to have. So I liked it. Didn't love it. I gave it 4 stars. So you know, I did really enjoy it. I didn't love it enough to really give it 4 stars, but I also was like, I don't dislike it enough to give it 3 stars. Like it was a very weird zone where I was like, I don't want to give it 3 stars. I don't really want to give it 4 stars, but like if I give it 3 stars, that's kind of mean. So I'm just going to give it 4 stars, but it belongs in some like middle zone. I don't fucking know. It belongs to a new number between 3 and 4 that is not 3.5, and that does not start with the number 3. Anyway, that's all the books that I read in September. It was a lot. I don't know if I'll read that many. I don't know if I'll read as many this month in October. Hopefully, maybe, we'll see. Sorry that my bangs looked weird this whole time. I do like have bangs, so it's not just like, oh, you know, they're like, I got weird short hair sticking up. I just was too lazy to style my bangs, and again, it's so fucking muggy out that if I do style them, they're gonna get fucked up right away, so it doesn't even matter. If you've made it this far in the video, comment octopus to prove your loyalty to my clan. Bye.